Hello out there, we're on the air. It's hockey night tonight. And she goes and the whistle blows and the puck goes down the ice. The goalie jumps and the players bumps and the fans all go insane. Someone roars, Bobby scores at the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game. Second period, where players dash with skates a flash, the whole team falls behind. But they grab the puck, they go bursting up, they're now across the line. They storm the crease like bumblebees, they travel like a burning flame. You see them slide the puck inside, it's a 1-1 hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game. Third period, the last game of the playoffs. Oh, take me where the hockey players face off down the rink. And the Stanley Cup is all filled up for a chance to win the drink. And the final flick of a hockey stick in one gigantic screen. The puck is in, the home team wins at the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey.
Oh, the best game you can name is the good old hockey game. Welcome in, everyone. Dr. Dynastic with the raid. Whew, we have quite the crew here today. Glad to have you on board. Get a little sample of the Black Aces podcast. Yeah, episode number 2. I see some familiar names in the chat there. Danny, Gray Bill, Boiled Egg, and many others as well. Yeah, Boston, home of your Cam Neely. Well, more home of my Jerry Cheevers and Terry O'Reilly and Stan Jonathan from the 70s. But yeah, you can have Cam Neely. Hey, Boiled Egg. Watch it with the ugly hats today. Again, we gotta give love to all the teams at some point in time. And my Washington Capitals one is in the wash right now. Let's bring the panel in right away. We've got from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, Old Man Fred. We have from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, Finn. And we have from somewhere out east where they speak French, we have Lanky Frank. Good to see you guys. The panel is raring to go. Fred, I have to ask you, first of all, how is the voice this week?
The voice is 80%, relatively back. I feel like I've turned a corner, just like the Leafs coming up, babies. That's right. So there you
just like the Leafs heading into the playoffs, you turned a corner, hopefully not into a deep, dark alley. And it's sounding sexy as you said it would be this week, Eric. That's good.
Well, I've been working on it. Yeah. The wife's happy, eh? So there you go.
And Finn, you're working up north, I guess, right now. So you're staying in a hotel and drinking some hotel tea. How's it going with you? Finn, can you hear me?
Not too bad in Slave Lake, Alberta.
Slave Lake, Alberta. If you're familiar with
coming here for the last few years, but
yeah, working up in Slave Lake. And bonjour, mes amis. Comment ça va, Lanky Frank? Lanky Frank, you've got the lap mute on right now.
Sorry. I said everything's good in these parts. I said, Ryan, we just lost him. I guess the connection up north, not very good.
Yeah.
But,
the further you go up north, the more difficult the internet is. So I'm sure Finn will be back. There he is, right there. You know, he's one of these guys that comes and goes. He just sometimes he's here, sometimes he's not. But guys,
the youth of today, they come and go as they please.
Oh yeah. I think he's a Zoomer. You know those Zoomers? They just
short attention span. You know, like 2 minutes is like, oh my god. Okay, what can I do next?
Okay, let's get on to our first topic. First thing I want to talk about. Every week I want to go through one of the teams, and of course we're going alphabetically.
I tried to open up Twitch so I could watch the chat, but
that's why you went off. Okay,
you're too far north to do that, Ryan. Yeah. Ryan, do not open up 2 tabs when you're up north. There he goes again. He's gone already.
Again. Yeah.
He probably turned on the TV or something and lost internet.
He's got to turn off his porn, you know, hotel porn, man.
You have to pay for that, Ryan, up north, or Lanky Frank.
Not in Slave Lake, you know. It's free.
It's they don't get guests that often, man. It's included with the room.
And welcome, Lanky Frank. For those of you that have never met Lanky Frank, I warned you guys. I sent out, the warning on Lanky Frank. You never know what you're going to get. Okay, let's keep this to an hour. Every week, we're going to go through each of the NHL teams, and I want you guys to vote on what their best logo was. So we're doing this alphabetically. This week, we're going to go through Boston. And because Boston is a big rival of Montreal, your favorite team, Frank, what do you prefer as the Boston logo? What was your favorite? I know you have to pick one. Your favorite Boston logo.
I like the 34-48.
34-48. All
And
right.
this fucking wheel with the spokes doesn't do anything for me. So it was that one or the three before. But you have to have the black, like they're the OG black and gold. I know Pittsburgh, because they became good, they became the black and gold, but Boston's the original black and gold. So I'll go with the 34-38, not 48.
All right. How about you, Eric? What do you like for a Boston logo?
I've never liked the two early ones, and I know they brought those back as third jerseys. I'm going to be pretty boring. I think you can't get anything better than the present. I really like. I do like the spokes. I like the black and gold. To me, that says Bruins right there. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Ryan, how about you? What's your favorite Boston logo?
I'm going to have to go with Frank on this one with the 34 to 48. I just like the simplicity of it, nice and clean and crisp.
All right. Well, as a Boston Bruin fan growing up before Edmonton made their way from the WHA, I'm going to have to go with something kooky, just like their kooky mustard bear uniform. I'm going to go with the cartoonish bee as a novelty. Maybe not as a main logo, but as a novelty. I like that one from 1948 and 49.
Well,
So
Glenn,
there
you didn't have their third jersey from a couple of years ago on the list, because it was awful.
Well, that'll be a future episode when we talk about awful third jerseys, because there have been a few awful ones, including some Montreal Canadian ones that look like they just got out of prison based on the uniforms they were wearing.
The strippers, the girl selling candy at the hospital.
Yeah, there's been some crazy ones. Okay, so going on with the agenda of today, the preseason with the NHL started a couple days ago. We have Arizona off in Australia with Los Angeles, so they've been playing some exhibition games. Last night there were a bunch as well, including 10-0, an embarrassing showing by the Vancouver Canuck AHL team, losing 10-0 to the Flames. So any Canuck fans out there, I apologize for your team. They didn't perform well. And tonight we've got a few games as well. 9 games going on tonight. The Panthers are killing the Predators in both their matchups. The Leafs, their first game, losing to the Senators 4-3 in overtime. And Montreal, they're taking a few days before they play their first game. So start with you, Eric. Have you watched any of the preseason hockey?
No. And when we get to my rant, you'll hear why. But no, I haven't. I've caught some of the scores, and some of the scores are what they are, right? I get Calgary Flame stuff, and as far as they're concerned, they've won the cup now, so God bless them. But otherwise, no, yeah. Well, I'll save it. But yeah, there you go. I have not watched any. No.
How about you, Ryan? Have you had a chance to catch any preseason action?
I think he's back out. He cut his camera.
Finn with the bad reception up north.
No, I don't generally catch a lot of preseason stuff.
Yeah, he's having a bad connection up there. Either that or he's got a lot of guests up in the room. So we'll get Ryan to pipe in when he can. You sound pretty good, but I think your internet's kind of going in and out there up north. Frank, I know you said you watched some preseason, I think you said last night.
I watched tonight. The Habs, you said they don't play. They lost against the Devils 4-2. They're on the top right-hand corner. Go back up. There you go.
Lanky Frank, do the Habs really play? Do they really play?
Yeah, well, they faced Jack Hughes. So for all the preseason games, I did watch LA and the Coyotes, because that's the most meaningful preseason games, because both those teams sent, pretty much their best players, because they wanted to promote the game in Australia. They're not going to bring in the AHL team, etc. And those were pretty competitive games, man. I saw the one Saturday night because it's in Australia time, like it was like seeing the second game of the doubleheader on Saturday. And it was like not like a first game that you like tonight was awful. It was pretty competitive. It was good game to watch. And that was the second one. I didn't watch the first one. So, and I watched a little bit yesterday, and then tonight I watched a little bit of the Montreal because it's hockey season, man. Who doesn't like to watch? Even though it's preseason, you get to watch some kids play and all that. So you see a little bit of the future. So.
Yeah, it's like in baseball training camp. The exhibition, the Grapefruit League, as we used to call it, and in baseball, it's fun. You get to watch some of these up and comers take the field, or in this case, the rink. So, 2 weeks from tomorrow, the real season gets underway, the regular season, and we are going to have our regular season prediction show the day before on October 9th with a special guest from OOTP is going to join us. You know him, you love him. He will be here in a couple weeks to do the preseason prediction. He's out east, and he favors one of the New York teams out east. That's all I'll say. So stay tuned over the next couple weeks for those predictions. Okay, next up, I asked the panel if you were starting off a new team, because I saw in the comments Vegas is, still relatively a new team. Seattle's a new team, and they both performed really well with the new, new team kind of rules and who you can take and who you can protect. Vegas and Seattle got off to a much better start than Columbus and some of these other early franchises. But I asked them to pick a skater and a goalie. If you were to start a team now and you could pick any player in the league, who would be your skater and who would be your goalie? The only exception was you're not allowed a Connor. You can't have Connor McDavid and you can't have Connor Bedard as your franchise players. So we're going to start with Frank. Frank, who is your skater? Who is your goalie if you're to start a new league or new team?
Sucked I couldn't take Connor Brown, man. No, not allowed any Connors.
only McDavid and Bedard.
So I went with the obvious choice, but there's only three of us, so it doesn't get really. There's not going to be any big debates. So I went with Leon Draisaitl and Shesterkin. It's like you can't at me. One of the best goalies around, probably the best. And Leon is the second best player in the NHL. So,
okay, yeah.
Enough said.
Definitely two good choices: best goalie and one of the best players. And
I won't even argue with Eric and Ryan's choices because 3 deep, you're getting two. Everybody's getting a franchise goalie and a franchise player.
Well, I think you might argue with one of the panelist choices.
Oh my God! What did fanboy do again?
Can I disconnect my internet right now?
No, that's not allowed. So Shesterkin, again, with the New York Rangers, had an excellent season, 37 and 13 last year, still relatively young, 27 years old. And, as a cornerstone in the net, he's definitely going to, give you a few good seasons still to come. And I can't see anything wrong with that choice. Leon Draisaitl from Germany. How old is he now? 27 years old. And again, the teams that passed up, I think he went 3rd overall behind, was it Sam Reinhart and Ekblad, I think, are the two players that were chosen before Leon. So he fell in the laps of Edmonton. Craig McTavish at the time was responsible for the draft choices, and he picked a good one in Leon Draisaitl. So 128 points last year. On any other team, he would probably be the captain and having, again, just a great career.
He's the Gino to Sid. So that's his career. On his own, he would be number one, just like Gino would be number one on his own. But the thing is with Leon, when he was drafted, he wasn't supposed to be what he became. he really worked hard on his skill set to become. So that shows you how, like, you got Connor Bedard. Okay, he's going to become a superstar, etc. Draisaitl was not pegged to become a superstar. He worked his ass off to become one. So hats off to him. That's development instead of innate skills.
And I have to give Oilers credit. They did send him down back to, juniors in the first year, and he played in the AHL a little bit. So they didn't rush him like they have with a lot of their prospects. They kind of took their time a little bit with him, and thankfully it has paid off. So yeah, best pick of that draft year by far, I believe, is Leon Draisaitl. Finn, you're up next. You get a franchise goalie, you get a franchise player. Who are you going with?
I'm going. All right, here we go. I'm going with Crosby and Gibson.
Okay. Frank, are you okay, Frank? Frank, are you okay? Do you need a medic?
I'm going with Crosby. He's got to be one of the hardest working players to ever come in this league. He's won it all. He knows it all. And if you're starting a new franchise and you're drafting young players, do you not want them learning the habits from this guy?
Okay. And for the goalie.
I went out to left field for this one. This guy's played on an absolutely god-awful team for his whole career. Still considered one of the better goalies in the NHL. He had an off season last year, but what are you going to do about it? But fresh start on a new team when he's still considered a pretty damn good goalie with a team that's probably going to be built a lot better than Anaheim. I'd take that guy.
I think Ryan's tanking the first year to get a good draft pick next year. Although Crosby, I understand the work ethic and the leadership that you want to instill on your team. And boiled egg, yeah, we're talking current age players if you're just putting a franchise together. You're the 33rd team or 34th team. Who are you picking for your goalie and for your skater? And John Gibson, maybe a little bit of Western bias because Anaheim is in the Oilers division, so you see him a lot more. Definitely has been falling in terms of his play. A lot of injury problems with Mr. Gibson and a 4 GAA.
Playing on the worst team in the NHL right now, and
they're the worst because of him, dude.
He's not the worst because of poor coaching and terrible makeup of a team.
All right, so I'd like to welcome the Columbus Blue Jackets to these expansion franchises we have going here. So, Eric, you're not gonna disappoint me, man, because we have to represent. We're gonna be the Vegas and the Seattle of this little exercise.
All right. Well, we've got 4 different players so far, and old man Fred, I'm
going back on mute. I'm laughing too much.
He is a Leaf fan through and through, and he cannot take Johnny Bauer. He's got to take someone that is currently playing in the league right now. The question is, will he select a Toronto Maple Leaf as his franchise player? So, Eric, who are your 2 picks?
Well, we're staying with the Cole Harbor kids because Nathan McKinnon would be my skater. And I did choose a Connor, so much for that Connor rule. Connor Hellebuck would be my goalie. Okay. Nathan McKinnon is fast. He's tough. He's a star. Like I've got a lot of respect for him. I think he's I think he's a little bit. I like Draisaitl, and I think Draisaitl has shown himself to be edgy in the playoffs. And certainly 2 years ago, he was skating on one leg. Last year was a little bit better. Well, was considerably better. He had 2 legs last year. But I think Nathan's faster, and he's got that just a little bit edgier. And size-wise, I think they're built relatively the same. And then Connor Hellebuck, even though Connor's older, but when I was looking at an expansion team, I was thinking of course, Fleury with Vegas, who was older, and wasn't even, obviously, if he was made available, he wasn't the number one in Pittsburgh at the time. And I look what he did for that franchise. And I think Connor Hellebuck, although he doesn't have the personality Fleury does, is that guy. You look at him, he's very consistent. Winnipeg hasn't been a great team. They've been a very good team at times. But mainly, not mainly, but in part due to a great goaltender. So
unlike
yeah,
Gibson, I'll give you that props. Winnipeg, when they're good because of Hellebuck. Okay, because that room is shit. Okay, everybody that leaves says it. That room is toxic, and Hellebuck makes them that good, even with that room being toxic. But like Boiled Egg said, Hellebuck is 1 year off, 1 year on. But what I liked about your pick is he's a workhorse. He can play 60-plus games,
Okay.
So you're going to make picks just so we don't leave all these good players on the board that Ryan was supposed to take?
you can't deny me that. The Crosby one is the one I thought about, and then last second I go, oh my God, I got to pick a goalie, and I'm kind of thinking. Well, Gibson might be a controversial topic. Let's throw him in there.
The chat room is saving your butt on this. This third franchise starting, they're having good picks in there.
And Justin,
Jack Hughes and Sorokin, I commented was good. Matthews, I'm surprised, Eric, if you would have taken Matthews with his 60 goal potential, but you're an expansion team. You're not supposed to make the playoffs, so at least you might get.
I'm not convinced yet, Frank. He's not. He doesn't do it for me. He doesn't. I'm glad we have him, but he's now the highest paid player in the NHL, and my question is why. So
we've agreed on that, and some goalies that were not mentioned. Sorokin was mentioned in the chat, but there's also Vasilevsky, of course, and the 23-year-old, which I can't believe hasn't been taken, Ottinger, who's probably the youngest, most established goalie, like elite goalie in the NHL today. So,
all right, we got to take a break here, guys. It's going to kick in. We will be back in 2 minutes, and we will go through our Eastern power rankings for the preseason. So back in 2 minutes' time after these ads from our Twitch partner. All right, welcome back in, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great Monday evening here. And again, we are here on the Black Aces podcast with Old Man Fred, with Lanky Frank, and with Finn. And breaking news, Ryan texted me that he's changing his franchise picks. Is now going with Jordan Eberle and Cam Talbot.
Why not?
Ryan, a big Oiler fan, and I would like to go back to the 2017 playoffs and have another chance against those Anaheim Ducks, who were pretty bad this year. So feel free, guys, to ask questions in the chat. If you have any questions of the panel, feel free to fire away. We're going to go through the power rankings for the Eastern Conference. Next week, we'll do the Western Conference. The week after that, we'll do our overall predictions for some of the awards and for the playoffs. But for right now, we're going to focus on the East. And so, Ryan, you get to start this one off. You don't have to give them in order from number 1 to number 5, but who are the 5 teams that you see as the strongest teams to start the season in the Eastern Conference?
As much as it pains me to say this, I think the top 3 teams, we're going to go with the top 3 teams because I think the next 2 are a little more up for debate, but I think the top 3 teams are the Devils, Carolina, and Toronto. Not saying Toronto's going to win anything in the Cup Finals or anything like that, but they're a fantastic regular season team.
Okay.
Devils are just going to keep on improving.
When you sent me your picks, was Toronto one of your 5?
Yes.
Okay. Then my mistake, because these are the 5 I had for you. But I could be wrong. I'll have to go back
I didn't pick the Rangers.
Okay. So Toronto instead of the Rangers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And then the other 2 teams, the Panthers, I think are going to take a big step forward. And the Bruins, we'll see how they go, but they had 135 points. So even if they lose 20 points, they're still going to be the 5th best team in the East. So until they actually get knocked out, I'm going to keep on picking them in the top 5.
Okay. So Boston, Carolina, Florida, the Devils, and the Leafs are your 5 power ranked teams in the East. Okay. Frank, you're up next. Who are the 5 teams that you're looking to be powerful coming out of the East?
Yeah, this was tough. Not first 4, that's what I sent you because I said I would divulge the 5th one live on the show. So the top 4 is pretty easy to me. Unlike Ryan, I do have the Rangers. So Carolina, New Jersey, the Rangers, and the Maple Leafs, obviously. Then it's a debate. Like the Bruins, it's like Ryan just said, like 20 points, but they lost their Hall of Famer first liner and Krejci, their first 2 centers, replaced with Zaka and who's the second line center? Coyle? That's a big step down. So I think they might lose like 40-ish points. So I'm not going to pick them. So they're not my 5th. I don't know. It's got to be in the Atlantic. So I'm hesitating because I also think Tampa is at the end of its run. And I don't think the Sabres are quite there yet. So I'm going to go with the Lightning, just gambling that they stay around 100-ish points. But it was a toss-up because the Sabres are coming. It's like the Devils. They might come. We might expect them next year, but like the Devils, we expected them to show up this year, but they showed up last year. The Sabres could show up this year. The only iffy thing is their goaltending, but there's rumors out there about them acquiring a goalie. Old Man Fred's has always been in the rumors all summer for Buffalo. Recently, Logan Thompson has popped up, etc. So if they go get an established goalie, then they'll be my 5th. But for now, I'll put Tampa as my 5th.
Okay.
Good point about the goalies overachieving from our chat for Boston. So on top of losing Bergeron and Krejci, the two goalies played like Olmark had a GAA of under 2. Like, is he going to repeat that? No. So all that, I think they're going to lose 40 points. You can mark that down. We'll see at the end. That's the beauty of predictions. We look foolish at the end of the year. So mark me down for 40 points. Downgrade for Boston.
40-point drop for the Boston.
They're still going to be 13 games above 500. That's how record-breaking their season was. Losing 40 points, they're still 13 games above 500. They might lose more. The over-under, I don't know what it is, but we'd have to call our friends in Vegas. But it's going to be – that's how good that was record-breaking for a reason last year. So –
And there's some comments in the chat here. You know, the Buffalo goalie situation. They've got that young kid. Is it Levi? That's coming up, projected to be pretty well. And then they got Luukkonen, again, kind of in the system as well. But I think if they can get an established goalie, I think they're a team that's definitely on the rise. I noticed, Frank, you didn't have Florida there. Now, Florida made, the Stanley Cup Finals last year. Why is Florida not in the top 5? They got Tkachuk. They got Bobrovsky. Why don't they crack the top 5?
I don't think they'll be able to catch up with their injuries because their first and second defensemen are not playing until between November and January. So if they both come back in January, that's half the season they have to catch up. I don't think that makes them top 5. Top 5 is 100 points or above. I think that will be the top 5. It's like above 100 points easy. So I don't think they'll catch up. Like Ekblad and Montour. Montour had breakout season over 70 points, and Ekblad again injured. But those are the top 2 and over 20 minutes each per game. Forsling is their top defenseman right now. Forsling, he was wavered by Chicago of all teams. So that's your top defenseman for 30, 40 games, 25 games in Florida. So Oliver Ekman-Larsson, for those that watch Vancouver, he's the number 2 defenseman there. It's going to get ugly. So I think it's going to be a rough start to the year. But Florida, second half, they'll be top 5. They would have been on my list.
Yeah. Okay. And old man Fred, time for you're a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, so you watch a lot of the Eastern games when Toronto plays. You are one of the biggest Toronto Maple Leaf fans out there, so you probably have a pretty good handle on the Eastern Conference. Who do you see as the top 5?
Well, certainly, I'm going to echo some of the ones I've heard. Toronto for sure. Yeah, they're a preseason kind of team. Carolina, I don't think they're going to take a step back. New Jersey, New York Rangers. And as I put in my email to you, Boston, because they're tricky bastards. That's why. They're always in it. And as a Leaf fan, I know that because usually they're punching us in the face and we're taking it, as they've done several times. So I just think Boston, although they will fall, I don't think they'll fall as far. And of course, now they have a captain who promises not to lick people in the face, which is good, right? So, because of course Marchman was named their captain or whatever, Marchand. So
I was shocked it wasn't McAvoy who's.
Yeah, so was I. Especially
defenseman plays 25, 26 minutes, and they went with the little face licker. It's like who's 36.
Yeah, so, but we'll see. But I think Boston, and truly. I do have a lot of respect for Boston because they produce, and so although they're an enemy, how can you not respect Boston?
Oh,
so that's just the way it is.
So you're
Montreal.
Yeah, even if they lose 30 points, they're still at 105. So Ryan is at 115. You're at 105. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. And there's always trades, eh? If they get Scheifele at one point, which was a rumor at one point, but if they get a number one center, if they get Scheifele because Winnipeg, because this is the off year for Hellebuck, so if Winnipeg goes in the tank and Boston gets Scheifele, they're back in business, baby. Same thing with Buffalo getting an established goalie. They're going to be unstoppable. So there's all these curveballs that we can't take into account right here. So all good picks for the top 5.
Let's address Fussmucker's question here. Let's get to a viewer question. Which of Buffalo, Ottawa, and Detroit burst the Eastern Conference playoff bubble? So of those 3 teams, Ryan, we'll start with you. Who do you think of those 3 teams has the best chance of possibly pushing their way, being the surprise team of the East?
I thought Ottawa was going to do it last year, and I'm going to stick with them and say they're going to do it this year.
Okay, so you're going with Ottawa.
They finally got themselves a new owner now. He's finally been approved and all that stuff. He's bought the team, quote unquote, and he's not afraid to spend money. So I think Ottawa's going to burst the bubble here.
So Tarasenko, they added Tarasenko, who's should score a few goals. Eric, how about you? Which of those 3 teams surprise?
I'm going to go with Buffalo just because I don't think Ottawa's there. And Detroit, they did kind of do their bottom 6, but they really haven't addressed their top 6, with one exception, of course. So I really think, I think I'm going to go with Buffalo on that one.
All right. And Frank, of those 3 teams.
So first off, did you all know that from one year to the next, on average, 5 teams that made the playoff one year don't make the playoff the next year? That's on average out of the 16 teams that make the playoffs. Gray Bill had a good point. 2 of them are going to crash the party in the East, and that is Buffalo, obviously, with how I got them in my top 5. So they have to crash the party. And I do believe Ottawa will also crash the party.
Good.
So that, on average, leaves for next week's podcast, if somebody asks, 3 teams that's going to crash the party out west.
Okay. And, I mean, you'll get our predictions, our official predictions in a couple of weeks of playoffs and award winners. But you got
Detroit is, just to speak to Detroit, they're missing that little something. Like Stutzle became a superstar. Tage Thompson became a superstar. Larkin is a star. They're missing that little something. Jake Sanderson, Thomas Chabot, Rasmus Dahlin with Owen Powers. Like they're missing that little ingredient. Whatever the yeast in to rise the bread or the muffins or whatever. They're this close, but it's a little bit too soon for Detroit, but they're on the right track.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Well, we've got our last segment coming up here. You don't want to miss it. It is the panel rant. Each of our panelists is going to go on a 2-minute rant about something that, has been bothering them or they're pleased with in terms of the NHL. 2 minutes each. We're going to have them on the timer. And that's going to end off our show right after the break here. We'll be back in a couple minutes, guys. Stay tuned for the panel rant. All right, we are back for our last segment called 2 Minutes in the Penalty Box, where each of our panelists will have an opportunity to speak their mind about things going on in the NHL. Now, I know we're early in the season. There's not a lot of controversial topics. Last week, we talked about the Babcock situation, so I don't think that's probably going to be part of a rant today. But there are other things going on that maybe our panelists have an opinion on. So 2 minutes in the penalty box. We're going to start with Old Man Fred, and we're even going to put each of them on a timer just to make sure they stay within their time limit. So Old Man Fred, what do you got to say?
Start the timer. All right, here we go. Here's the thing that, there's some things in life that are necessary, but you don't like. A visit to the dentist, oral health is important, but, they're digging in there and all that kind of stuff. Nobody likes that. Guys my age, well, I'm going to say it. Yeah, the old prostate, that's not an exam anyone signs up for, but it's necessary, and we have to do it. The NHL preseason. It's necessary, sure, but God, it's awful. They send these teams to the other rinks. They play their stars because it's the home fans, and they get shellacked. Poor old Vancouver. Calgary gets their 10 goals. Big deal. Everyone cheers. All those Calgarians hugging each other. It's gross, and that all preseason is crap. The NFL, same thing. It's gross too. You're lucky if you see your number one running back in the whole 4 games. Same thing here. They will show up a little bit near the end, but not very much. Plus the fact that there could be some injuries, and I'm hearing some rumors of some injuries already, and that's never very good. So, the preseason, yeah, glad that, some people get to go in. I don't think ticket prices, at least in Edmonton, are that much cheaper. And, it's not worth your time, people. It's lovely. It's a scrimmage. We need to kind of change it so that it's a little bit more competitive. I guess, like Frank said, we'll play all our games in Australia or China, and maybe they'll be interesting. That's it. Old Man Fred, out.
All right, great. So the preseason rant by Old Man Fred. All right, next up on the clock, Finn, you're in the penalty box. You got 2 minutes.
Did anybody else see that comment by Boiled Eggs? Prostate exam is all right if the lighting is right and you place some air supply. That is
I need some wine with that.
All right, Ryan, we're going to restart your clock. Rant away.
Oh, yeah. I want to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning and Brisebois and his handling of his franchise player and Steven Stamkos. Stamkos came out and said that he wanted to be signed before the beginning of the year. He wanted to be a Tampa Bay Lightning for the rest of his career, and Brisebois never even reached out. At least that's how the story goes. No communication back and forth, and it's not like this is the first time it's happened. Last time Stamkos signed a contract with the Lightning, it was 4 days before the beginning of preseason or the regular season. I forget which one. Either way. This guy's number is going to be in their rafters. He's going to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's brought them 2 Stanley Cups. He's won all sorts of awards, a couple Rocket Richards, a couple Mark Messier leader, or not a couple, but one Mark Messier Leadership Award. Over a point per game guy. Has a whole bunch of records for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Most points, most goals, most hat tricks, most power play goals, winning goals, even strength goals, regular season games with 4+ points. He wants to be a Tampa Bay player for life, and the GM is not helping him out or giving him any favors or treating him like Tampa Bay Lightning royalty he should be. Not saying they need to break the bank on him, but definitely at least have conversations. Show the guy a bit of respect. Now there's whisperings out there that the Florida Panthers might try to target Steven Stamkos. Imagine that guy walking down the street and playing for a team in your state or your state rival. It's embarrassing. It's a bad look, I think, for Tampa Bay and Brisebois, and hopefully they can correct it.
Okay. There you go. A little bit of Tampa Bay talk there. Okay, and I do like that Mark Recchi signing for Columbus. Again, Mark Recchi, really high offensive player. I watched him growing up playing junior hockey with the Kamloops Blazers. And that guy had talent, won some Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh, with Carolina in 2006. So I think it's going to be a good signing. But again, he's a young coach with not a lot of experience, and it's Columbus. So hopefully he can help the young players, Fantilli and some of those other young guys. All right. Next up, in the penalty box, usually it's for a 5-minute major, but today we're only going to keep Frank in for a couple minutes. So, Frank, you're in the penalty box.
All right. So mine's related to Old Man Fred. It's the preseason coverage. Everybody goes nuts, especially we just started the preseason, and all I'm hearing is, oh, this line is showing early chemistry. Give me a break. Like, Connor Bedard starts with Tyler Johnson. Oh man, they're showing great chemistry to start with. Then they put Ryan Donato on there. Oh my God, there's chemistry with them and all that, because everybody wants to know who's going to play on the right wing on that line. Fantilli, Texier, and Liney. Oh my God, that's going to be awesome. Liney and Fantilli are showing so much chemistry. It's the first fucking days of training camp. I'm expecting the shovel girls to fucking being said, oh, they're showing chemistry with Connor Bedard. Well, all four of us, I can't skate and I would show freaking chemistry with Connor Bedard. It's ridiculous. Everybody goes nuts. Fans goes nuts. Oh my God. It's like 10-0. It means nothing. You know, Coronato had a hat trick, maybe 5 points. And everybody goes, oh my God, this is the prospect. He's going to be awesome. The next Austin Matthews. No, just calm down, breathe in, breathe out. Most people who lead preseason in scoring don't even play in the NHL. It's 8 veterans have to be playing. And the definition of veteran is 30 games played last year, first-round draft pick this year in the latest one, or 100 overall games. So it's a joke. And somebody commented the preseason games gets more serious towards the end. But I agree with old man Fred. Let's market the game all over the world and play overseas games, because then you get real preseason games. I'm out.
All right, and you wouldn't believe how long Frank rehearsed that in front of the mirror before coming on today. He had the timing down perfectly to 2 minutes. Good job there.
That's because part of my job. Sometimes I have to adjust my presentations to because whoever is in front of me takes more time. So I was adjusting my speech with the clock. So, but yeah, the Ice Girls are probably going to be better than anybody. I like the last comment from Fussmucker because they can skate, man. Because you know we have the guys, but Chicago has the girls, and some other teams also. They fly out there, man. So give them a hockey stick because we had the first woman who scored in university football in history. Universe. So women are making history left, right, and center. We already had it in hockey with Manon Rhéaume. We had the 40th, I think, anniversary this year of her playing a preseason game. But we have somebody in college, university football. So more power to the women out there. Break those barriers. Break those barriers.
As Boiled Egg says, Frank, it was a great 2 minutes, but you padded it with a few F-bombs. So I don't know.
Fuck
Did you really did you really put in a full 2 minutes?
Me and Jennifer have a lot in common, okay? Jennifer Lawrence, you see that little sketch before she hosted the Tonight Show?
Oh, okay. We're getting into R-rating territory here, I think. Okay, well, we're still getting our feet wet. This is only our second episode of the season, and we're going to get better and stronger and probably a little bit more profane as the season goes on and we get into more situations. But next week, we're going to go through the Western Conference and power rank those teams. We'll have a few other surprises as well. We'll bring back the rant, and I'm sure our panelists will have more to talk about because more of the preseason will be done. And if we look at today's scores one more time before we go, because we all know how important chemistry is in these first few games, right, Frank? Look at that. Kraken, they're Stanley Cup champions because the Flames beat the Canucks 10-0. And so the Kraken, because they're winning, that must mean they're even better than Calgary.
Yeah, but the second game is 1-1, so we have to wait for that result before coming to a conclusion. It's an aggregate score. And I have a good topic for next week. Let's pick, all three of us, again, the best player by position under 23. So that would be very, very cool to do. Like one forward, one defenseman, and one goalie, but under 23. That would be cool.
Is Justin Schultz still under 23? Ryan, I'm just asking for a friend.
Well, I was going to ask, can I pick 2012 Jordan Eberle?
But I think that would be cool to do. So
5-0 for Winnipeg. So that must mean Edmonton, you better start trading Draisaitl now. The rumors are going to hit the wire because it's 5-0 for Winnipeg. But I don't think Edmonton has many stars dressed tonight. If we look at the box score.
I don't know who's in net.
Well, Edmonton has Picard and Rodrigue.
All right. Forget about it.
That's typical first week of preseason. It's like,
look at this lineup, guys. Oh. Look at the stars that Edmonton is dressing in Winnipeg. They must not like Winnipeg because no one went to Winnipeg for Edmonton. Not even their.
I told you when they're on the road. When teams on the road never bring their starters. The only exception is when they come to Montreal because it was full, packed house, and they share revenues. And Montreal says, if you want to come back next year, you like Jack Hughes played in Montreal, Mercer. They had good players tonight. Why? Because if they don't come back the next year, and they need the revenues. Like New Jersey, they're not going to attract 2,000 people in Jersey for a preseason game. So, but that's the typical what you see because what's the attendance in Winnipeg? 1,500 tonight?
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
Yeah, we'll see.
So, but that's typical of what you see of there's no NHLers, but they play with the 8 veterans and then they put all their kids in. Like Raphael Lavoie is a typical AHLer, you know? So,
yeah. All right. Well, there is another show for this week. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Thanks to Dynastic for rating in, bringing over 100 of you over here. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you're back next week again, every Monday at 7:30 Mountain, 9:30 Eastern time. The panel, Old Man Fred, Lanky Frank, and Finn up north with the bad Wi-Fi. You held in there. Great show. Thank you, guys.
You switched to your phone.
Yeah, switch to your phone. Okay. Right. Thank goodness for TELUS.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, guys.
All right.
Hang around for a few minutes after the show. I'm going to sign off here, guys. Have a wonderful evening. And hockey 2 weeks away. See you next week. See you next show.
under an hour, guys.